This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
You know when you reach that age where everyone and their mother won't shut up about their credit scores, yet it seems like no one really understands what's so special about those 3 random numbers? That's because credit scores are meaningless, unless you have Credit Karma to show you how to use them. We use those 3 random numbers, plus your financial profile, to help you find your next opportunity. Like a more rewarding credit card, a game plan that helps you pay down debt faster, or a personal loan to help you save more on interest payments each month. Cha-ching! Download Intuit Credit Karma today to get started.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
And welcome back once again to the Skating Penguin Network. It is another recap show, and unfortunately, it is a recap of yet another Penguins loss. This time back at home after a long Western Conference or Western Canada swing. The Penguins have now lost 6 in a row after a 5-3 decision to the Minnesota Wild in Marc-Andre Fleury's swan song in Pittsburgh. And once again, very similar to what we saw against, actually, it's almost the same exact thing as what we saw when they took the ice against the Vancouver Canucks. They rush out to a 2-0 lead, then they just collapse, give up 4 unanswered goals, and end up losing 5-3. They do get one back in the third, but too little, too late. And I'm joined once again by Snail out on the West Coast. And Snail, I felt like this was deja vu watching this hockey game from what we saw on Saturday evening.
Deja vu, Groundhog's Day, tomato. It's the same crap again. And it's, you know what, dude? It's like, I'm so glad tonight was a night commemorating longtime Penguin Marc-Andre Fleury. Just one of the best characters in the game. We talk about all the time how lucky we are as Penguins fans, as hockey fans, to be watching Sidney Crosby and Ovechkin and Malkin and the rivalries and all these great stuff that all these great things and stories and players and characters of the game. Marc-Andre Fleury is right up there with those guys. Just one of the best characters in the game. We've, his storied career, we've covered it and talked about, his time in Pittsburgh. It's been a long time since he was in a Pittsburgh jersey, but he was there for the cups. He's had his ups and his downs within the organization. He got his Vezina, not in a Penguins jersey, went to another cup final, kind of bounced around. Just an awesome guy, easy guy to root for, really. So despite the Penguins losing 6 in a row, which we'll get to, just an awesome night, emotional, seeing just, bringing back so many good memories. Well done by the Pittsburgh organization. They've never done a bad job of celebrating one of their own. Like you said, I think at the end of the last recap we did, kind of leading up to this game, we were talking about it, and I hope he signs a 1-day contract. And you know what? I hope he comes back to the organization in some capacity, because I believe he belongs in Pittsburgh, but ultimately that'll be up to him. That was the only thing that saved tonight from being just a throw your TV in the dumpster type of night.
Yeah.
Robbie, this team, they can score goals. The depth can score goals. Rickard Rakell, Brian messaged me after his first, and he said Rickard Rakell might, at this rate, go beyond the over on what I had him at this pace.
Yeah, I mean, 10 game or 11 games now. He has 6 goals. He's playing. Yeah, I mean, they're an eighth of the way through the season, roughly. He's playing out of his mind. Again, maybe that just proves that last year the shoulder injury really did linger after even a rotten start to the season in general. But then the shoulder injury kind of just ruined his entire season, skipping the World Championships even then. And he's had a resurgence this season. 2 more goals tonight, one on a beautiful deflection, and the first coming on just a beautiful Raquel type shot to make it 2-0. Valtteri Puustinen is the other goal scorer. Not a lot of action this year, but he does get his first of the year on the power play to open the scoring. But yeah, Rickard Raquel, he's just doing pretty much everything that you could have possibly hoped for. I think he's probably even exceeding your expectations at this point. Obviously, he's Snail set 31 goals. He's well past the pace for that at the moment. Just playing very good hockey.
Yeah, one of the only forwards you can kind of rely on to get you chances at this point. With 6 losses in a row, he's one of the only guys that when he hops over the boards, there's a glimmer of hope that he's going to at least be getting a puck on net and getting a good chance.
Yeah, I think that you just feel that he gets his chances every night. Whether or not it's a good night for the Penguins, he is out there in the mud getting those chances. But right now, the Penguins, I mean, it just – the offense is there. They've scored 3 goals in every game except in this last streak of games here, except the Edmonton one. They have scored at least 3 in against the Jets, 3 against the Flames, 3 against the Canucks, 3 against the Wild now, and they're 0-5-1 in those games. So the defense is bad. Tonight kind of changed on – I don't want to rip on him too hard. The goal that Joel Blomqvist gave up to make it 2-1 can't go in.
Yeah.
That's just as simple as that. Whether he is a rookie goaltender or a veteran, just not a goal you can give up. And it's almost fitting that he gave up that kind of goal with Marc-Andre Fleury on the other end, because there's so many times that Marc-Andre Fleury gave up soft goals like that made you want to pull your hair out.
Yeah.
Not saying that they wouldn't have been able to battle back Minnesota anyway. They're a good hockey team. But that just, right after that Raquel goal, just kind of took the air out of the sails. And then defensively, they just fall apart. Matt Grzelcyk makes a terrible play, puts the puck literally to Freddie Gaudreau. He picks a corner.
Freddie Gaudreau, first of the year. If you need your first goal of the year, just play the Penguins.
Oh, don't worry. If you need your second goal of the year, just play the Penguins as well, because Freddie Gaudreau early in the second makes it 3-2 with his second of the season. He scored 5 goals last year. So
he's almost halfway there against the
halfway to his total. But I believe it was Phil Bork that said on the broadcast he did score 19 the year before last. So, I mean, he does have a goal scorer's touch, but, yeah, just not a good performance. Blomqvist did make a bunch of great saves as well.
Oh, yeah.
To keep them in the game and to keep that score at least within shouting distance. Credit to Marc-Andre Fleury, who I thought played a really good game. The Penguins missed a ton of chances too. There was a buzz, and that buzz after they were down 3-2, that buzz was started by the one and only Jack St. Ivany.
My man, Jack St. Ivany.
Standing up for his captain, taking he took a roughing penalty, which whatever.
I'll take that every once in a while.
It's better than a instigator that comes with further discipline. You take the roughing, you get into scrap with Brock Faber after he takes a shot at Crosby, and that kind of re-energized.
Who does Brock Faber think he is?
Yeah, but that re-energized the Penguins at 3-2. They had momentum. Then they kill off the roughing penalty, and they really came back. Then they really started flying around. But unfortunately, with about 30 seconds left in the second, they give up a backbreaker to Matt Zuccarello, which that's one that, again, the Penguins have a nasty, nasty habit of giving up that goal in the first minute or last minute of a period.
Mm-hmm.
And
backbreakers, man.
Yeah, backbreaker. I mean, even though Raquel did score to make it 3-2 early in the third, it could have been 4-3. Sorry, it could have been so much different if Zuccarello doesn't score that goal. but unfortunately that's what happened. And it feels like we just talk about the same exact game every night. It felt last year it was having a lead and then blowing it. Tonight it just feels like the goal scoring's there and the defense is not good. There are too many chances against. Blomqvist, he takes blame for the one goal, but they just give up so many scoring chances.
They do. And the one thing quickly I'll say, back in the early 2000s, the late 90s, we used to hear this term, no doy. You remember that? Remember hearing a no doy every once in a while? That's how I feel about the fans reacting and the bench reacting to Jack St. Ivany dropping the gloves with Brock Faber. Jack St. Ivany is a great defenseman. I've been, Robbie, you and I both have been fans of Jack St. Ivany since he first stepped onto the ice. We've been Ivany stans. That kid's got a little piss and vinegar, as I like to say, in his game. And I like that he did that. Why doesn't anyone else on this team do it? And there's an easy answer for that. It's because most of them don't have that in their DNA. Jack St. Ivany does, much like Ludwig, who they let go for nothing. I've been saying it for years that the Penguins undervalue these players that bring grit and the willingness to drop the gloves and spark their bench. So yeah, as I said, no doy that the team responded to Jack St. Ivany fighting Brock Faber. I love it. The other thing I wanted to say, just to your point before I tangented about the tilt, was it's unfair that, Yoel Blomqvist, we're rushing him into the league. We said it before the season. We were hoping this would be a development year for him where he'd be down in the AHL. Things have not shaken out the way that we thought they would goaltending wise, and he is being thrown to the wolves. It's unfair that he has to be perfect. It's unfair that he should be able to let in a muffin every once in a while.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate that he's almost held to this standard that if the Penguins want to get back into it, he has to be essentially perfect. Go back a couple of games where he got shelled. He had a .920 save percentage on 50 shots on goal. He let in 4 goals on 50 shots, had a .920 save percentage.
Yeah.
That's just unfair for the kid. But you know what? He in his, I think it was in the middle of the game or maybe a post-game interview, they talked to him. He said he enjoyed it. He's like, I like feeling the puck. It keeps me engaged. I think a lot of goaltenders would share that sentiment. Maybe not to that extent where they're getting absolutely peppered, but these goaltenders, they like to feel the puck. When they go too long without facing a shot, you hear that it's almost like they've been kept out of the game. They're a little cold. It's unfair that he has to be perfect. So he should be allowed to let in a muffin, and the Penguins shouldn't crumble like I don't know. They shouldn't crumble in front of him and then have it become a snowball going downhill. It's a shame. So the one thing with Yoel Blomqvist that I just wanted to make clear was that it's like, I think he's going to be a hell of a goaltender. And I think he's already proven that he can play in the NHL. But Robbie, what do we do about this defense? It's 5-on-5 defense every game that we see these breakdowns and mistakes. And I don't know I'm tired of scratching my head about it. Is it Sullivan's system? Is it the personnel? Dude, all I know is that there was a minute and a 3-minute 5-on-3 penalty, and the penalty kill was phenomenal. There was, what is that? There were 3 Penguins players on the ice with the goaltender against 5 of Minnesota's best players. And they looked like it was like mid-season form. How is our penalty kill with 3? Is that 2/3? Is 3 out of 5 players 2/3? Are your fractions sharp?
Not quite 2/3. No, it's about 2/3. It's roughly about 2/3. Yeah.
Roughly 2/3 of the team against 5 of their best players can just shut them down without, too much panic actually at all. But 5-on-5. They're like Swiss cheese. It's like they're dangling pylons out there. So I don't understand. I'm getting exhausted trying to make sense of it. Where the penalty kill, is it not the defense? Whoever coaches the defense, are they not coaching the penalty kill as well?
I don't know.
Who's in charge? I need to know who's in charge, because I need to point a finger somewhere. And why is the penalty kill so good? And why is the 5-on-5 defense? You have 2 extra players on the ice, and you can't, and you give up wacky shots and unorthodox plays that always end up in the back of your net. I don't understand, Robbie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is a completely fair assessment. The Penguins just, I don't know. I mean, it feels like again. We talked about the same exact game every night, just different opponent. It was almost a complete carbon copy of what we saw the other night. Just the scoring happened a little bit differently. Penguins battle back. They don't get the tying goal. You'd like to see a game every once in a while where they get that tying goal, because that would have been a big boost. The crowd was really into it. A good crowd tonight, even if a lot were there to see Marc-Andre Fleury. The Penguins had the crowd into it quite a few times. Jack St. Ivany had the crowd into it. Raquel's goal got the crowd back into it. The chances were there. They just couldn't convert.
They couldn't convert. I wanted to ask you, what did you think about that first line of Malkin and Sid and Raquel? I mean, obviously the defense is the issue. It's not the forwards, but I thought that line looked good.
I mean, Raquel with 2 goals, Crosby with three assists on the night. I mean, can't complain too much when those are the numbers there. Crosby picks us up a little bit. Definitely had a one of his better games of the season, up to 10 points now total. Would love to see some goal scoring. I'm sure he desperately wanted a goal tonight with Marc-Andre Fleury in goal. Did not happen. It was Raquel getting those honors. Yeah, getting his fill, getting those honors tonight. But yeah, Crosby looked as good as he has all season. Maybe he just needed to get home and get a good night's sleep in his own bed or something to get back into it. But full credit to Crosby tonight. And that line was good. I mean, 2 goals from Raquel, 3 assists from Crosby. Nothing from Malkin, but I thought he was noticeable. I didn't think he had a bad game. Had a couple chances he should have buried, but a good game from that line altogether for being put together just this week.
Agreed. I thought they looked good, but man, it really thins out the middle of your lineup. I thought Kevin Hayes was all right. You know, that he took a penalty to go down 5-on-3, but I thought that was such a weird fluky. That wasn't like the guy just stepped down on his stick. I don't even think that was odd. Did you see that penalty where his stick got caught in the blade of I don't even know. It doesn't even matter, but Lars Eller still looks solid. I thought there was there's a lot of solid players. Cody Glass, I'm starting to wonder if this is last chance, kind of like what do they call it? Last chance saloon maybe for that guy. He's been getting his chances and he's been getting a fair shake in a couple different situations. And I was watching him a little bit tonight and I was just curious if this is kind of all this kid can kind of bring. I can understand why he's maybe been passed on by a couple of teams now, but yeah, I don't know. The forwards, when you put Malkin up on that line with Sid, yeah, you got a lethal first line, but it really thins out the middle of the Penguins roster.
It does thin out that roster pretty quickly, unfortunately. So you're going to have to try that. I don't think that is something you can do long term, but it'll be interesting to see exactly how long they're willing to go forward with this before reverting back to a more spread out offense.
Where are we at with Bunting? What's going on with Bunting?
Man, at some point, I'm really disappointed. I really thought he was going to be one of their best players, and he still can be. Something isn't right. He looked good in preseason. He looked good in camp, and I really thought, based on what we saw last year, he was going to bring a much needed juice to this team, and he just does not have it this year so far. And I mean, 11 games, the sample size is getting bigger every night. So at some point, I mean, the dude has an assist this season and a single assist. So yeah, at some point, and that was more than 5 games ago at this point. So at some point you just gotta hope it comes together. Just one bounce to break the dam, and then it all starts coming. But at some point we got to see it.
Yeah, he doesn't. I'm just using the eye test out there. I'm not an NHL coach. I'm not someone who's fit to evaluate talent at the pro level, really, other than everyone else who sits on their couch and watches games. But I'm watching Bunting out there. He's on the 4th line. God, it's given me shades of like Galchenyuk. It's giving me shades of
Oh
Kapanen.
man,
It's given me shades of, these Penguins make these deals sometimes for their veterans in the past, and they turn it into a younger player that maybe has some potential, and then I feel like it's another Groundhog's Day, and I just hope that this isn't it for Bunting because of he played so well down the stretch last season when they got
yeah,
him for that Gensel trade. I was thinking, I'm trying not to think about it too much, but dude, I mean, he was playing for the Carolina Hurricanes with that Rob Brindamore style. He came to the Penguins with such discipline and in such good shape, and then I don't know, just a summer off and starting the season. I mean, he's been given every opportunity, and his stride looks choppy, a little choppy. He doesn't look like he knows what to do with the puck. His timing's off, and I mean, it's the NHL, Robbie. You don't have no matter. It doesn't matter if you're traded for Jake Gensel, Wayne Gretzky. It doesn't matter. You don't have the luxury to have really long, slow starts in the league, especially with a team that has high expectations for the kid. You know what I mean? Not even just. Absolutely. I would just say not even the highest of expectations, but I don't think their expectations for him are unreasonable.
Yeah, they're not out there asking him to be Jake Gensel.
No, they never were. Just do what he was doing last year, a disruptor, a rat. Assist on that Malkin line with Raquel, help spark the team.
Yeah.
And he's just not seeing enough ice, and he's not seeing enough ice because he's not doing enough out there, and the ice time he does have, he's not doing much with it. So couple of, I'm not trying to rank on the team, but just after a game like tonight and you're on a 6-game losing streak, there are some positives. I'd say the penalty kill is a positive. I still like the goaltending tandem without Jari in it. That first line looks good. Ricard Raquel continues to stay hot, but there's a couple of players that, if you're getting even just a little bit more out of them, you never know what the outcome could be in a game like this where it's a 1-goal game and you've got some momentum heading into the last half of the third period.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I don't know exactly what will happen when Jari has to come off that
conditioning stint.
The conditioning stint. But I feel like right now you have your goaltending combination. So fingers crossed that it keeps rolling. And just right now the Penguins just need a bounce. They just need one of those games where they get the bounces, just to win. Yeah. I don't really care how it comes at this point. Get the win, move on, and you don't say sorry about games like that. So just go out there, have a time, and let's hopefully win a hockey game here soon.
Yeah, dude, do you have to wonder? And I'm going to beat this drum a bit until there's some sort of clarity or something like that. But dude, like there's got to be some questions around Sullivan's job in Pittsburgh. I think if the Penguins, they don't want to tank. They're not outright tanking. They're trying to stay competitive. We've heard we've heard the narrative from Dubas, from the organization, from reporters, just kind of where they're at. They'd like to make the playoffs. They would like to stay competitive in this like retool they're calling it or whatever they've named it. But dude, you've got to wonder. It's hard to bounce back from a 5-game losing streak, yet alone a 6, 7, 8, 10-game losing streak. We've seen teams do it before in really unorthodox situations, but I would say if there's pressure to appease guys like Sid, like Gino, like Carlson, not to mention Letang and others that are competitive, these are pro athletes. If the message has been to make playoffs, there has to be some sort of internal dialogue on if this slide continues. The easiest thing to do would be you make a big trade to shake something up. But at this point, there's not a lot of big trades that could be made with the contracts and the way that the cap is at the moment. The easiest thing to do would be a coaching change. And with Sullivan being in the Four Nations and in the Olympics, it's awkward. But I'm wondering, like, at what point you got to stop the bleeding at some point. And I think that some of these woes of the Penguins could be changed with just a different structure, a different way of playing. And
I mean,
are you at all wondering about Sullivan? How hot is his seat right now?
Honestly, I can't even really give you a temperature because I genuinely don't know. It feels like he's safe because it feels like any other coach again, they're not a team with Stanley Cup expectations, but it feels like there's really no heat, and you don't know what's being said behind closed doors in the front office. And I don't even feel like guessing, because I feel like we're completely working in the dark with what is really being thought about Sullivan. Obviously, among the fan base, if they were to be the ones setting the bar, the seat would be an inferno. But I'm seeing no pressure from anyone involved with the front office or Fenway Sports Group. So I honestly, my best guess is, I don't know. I really don't know what the temperature of his seat is, where it matters at least.
I feel like he's not pushing buttons and coaching like his ass is on the line.
Mm-hmm.
But
maybe that's because it's not.
Maybe because it's not, and that would be disappointing. Because, dude, sometimes I watch this team, and this isn't just this year. This isn't an overreaction. Last year was the same way. The year before, it was starting to trend that way as well. It just feels like the voice has been lost. And yeah, like you said, they don't have Stanley Cup aspirations. This team can't win a Stanley Cup, but this team, I don't think it's hometown biased. I don't think it's Sidney Crosby biased. I feel like Robbie, you and I both thought this team was improved coming in this year, and they'd gotten a little bit younger. Now they're the third oldest team in the league as opposed to the oldest, and they've got some players that got chips on their shoulders. You've got some players that you've got a good mix of youth and veterans, and they're scoring goals too. The goals are coming in. The power play isn't great, but it's not the worst. The penalty kill is awesome. It's just that there's something structurally wrong with this team, and I feel like it goes back to coaching. And I for 6 games now, I've been wondering how warm is that seat of Sully's, and yeah, I guess I don't know if we'll get an answer anytime soon. But if they keep losing, you'd have to think that something is going to change.
You'd think so. You think it'd have to, but I'm not going to cross my fingers quite yet until I see some kind of, even if it's just a rumor from a media person, hey, there's some talk going on in Pittsburgh. I really can't believe that they're going to move on from Mike Sullivan anytime here in the near future, which you can debate about yourself, but we're not the ones making the decisions.
I wish I was, Robbie.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, it was an interesting game. A mixed bag of emotions type of game.
Yeah, that's fair.
I did notice though that bottom half of that third period, there were a lot of empty seats.
Yeah, that's just going to be how it is. I think if they keep this trend up, there will be a lot of empty seats there at the beginning of games.
It's been a while since we've seen that.
It has, but hey, that is the nature of Pittsburgh fans. They want to see a winner. You can call them fair weather. The only team they'll turn out for, even when they're bad, is the Steelers. They'll still sell out every game, but neither here nor there. But yeah, that's call them whatever you want to. That's the expectation in Pittsburgh, and that's how they treat it. So that is life.
That is life. In other news, though, I just about soiled my trousers when I read the news today that the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins signed Luke Richardson. And they didn't sign Luke Richardson the big, what was he? Was he a big centerman? The big centerman, played for the Flyers and the Blue Jackets, and he's the coach of the Blackhawks right now. But I saw Luke Richardson and I said, well, they signed an old dog to the minors, and no, they signed Luke Richardson to a professional tryout. He's a goaltender who played for the Greenville Swamp Rabbits of the ECHL last year, posting a 7-1-1 record with a 2.1 goals against average, .931 save percentage.
I think he was in camp on a PTO, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was there because Nedeljkovic went down and they wanted an extra body, and he signed a PTO, and then he went to Wilkes-Barre for a little bit. May have even played in a preseason game or some kind of scrimmage with Wilkes-Barre. So I think he was with the Penguins at some point. So I don't know if that signaled anything, but something to keep an eye on, certainly. if they did sign him to a PTO, what the plan is going forward here. Because they have obviously Jari for another 10 days or something, and then they have, was it Philip Larson, the other guy, and then you assume Sergei Murashov to be back at some point as well.
You'd think. They probably signed him just because of the juggling of goaltenders. You need a guy backing up. You need you got a couple guys down in Wheeling.
Yeah.
But anyways, just the name likeness threw me off a bit. Luke Richardson, he had 2,055 penalty minutes in his 1,417 game career, registering a whopping 35 goals and 166 assists. So we know how he got on the score sheet.
Yeah, he was getting on the score sheet with time in the penalty box for certain.
Yeah, in 1999 and 2000, he had 140 penalty minutes in 74 games.
Is he the head coach of the
Blackhawks?
Really?
Yeah, he is the head coach of the Blackhawks. He's coaching Bedard over there. And I just remember last year they kept interviewing him because it was such a rough season for the Blackhawks.
Oh, yeah.
And they asked him multiple times, and I think they started making T-shirts. They asked him, how do you deal with like these, losing streaks or whatever? And his answer every time was red wine and exercise. And then by the end of the season, they were like, if this continues, how do you deal with this? And he just said, print the shirts, red wine and exercise. And they were now I think they've been making T-shirts that say red wine and exercise.
All right. Very cool.
But anyways, not also the ECHL team that's called the Swamp Rabbits. That's the East Coast Hockey League is so wild.
Yeah, it's not really the East Coast anymore. Yeah.
It's more of, what is it? It's nationwide, isn't it? The East Coast.
Oh yeah, ECHL? It's all over the place. Yeah, it used to just be like the East Coast, but it's expanded across the entire continent now.
Yeah, but yeah, it's cool that they're such low profile teams and don't get the they're not on national TV, so they can call themselves like the Swamp Rabbits.
Yeah,
it's like minor league baseball.
It is. It's very minor league baseball-esque, yes.
But other than that, that's all I really got. I just thought that was interesting, and who knows if we'll ever see this guy even, I don't know, play for Wilkes-Barre very much or anything. But Luke Richardson, part of the Penguins organization.
Well, that is a wrap on another recap episode. Obviously, not another recap episode that we wanted to record, but one that we did record anyway. Penguins lose 5-3 to Minnesota Wild in Marc-Andre Fleury's, on all likelihood, his last game in Pittsburgh as an NHL player. The Penguins now are off on Wednesday. They are back on Thursday with a game on Halloween evening. They will be taking on the Anaheim Ducks back at PPG Paints Arena. So once again, Snail and I will be back after that one for another recap episode. But for Snail, I'm Robbie. We will talk to you guys later in the week.